This morning, I want to begin from the quarters of the Office of the President, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, and ask a very simple question. But before that, I have been worried about the fact that, like play, government has refused to do business with government. Like play. And I keep asking myself, does the state hate the state so much to the extent that the state has refused to do business with the state when the state knows that the state needs the money so that the state will become liquid and will not go borrowing from other states? I've been talking about the state insurance company. I've been talking about it. And yesterday, a colleague of mine whose vehicle is an official vehicle, I checked the number plate. It said, I can't find it in the NIC database, *920*57#, and then you enter the car number without the space, and then it will tell you whether the car has insurance or not. I checked and I realized that two government vehicles, one was not in the mix, and then one had insurance, but it was not from state insurance company. You know where? So I was wondering that, okay, government vehicles, government assets, and all those things, why is the state deciding not to insure their vehicles and their assets with them? I mean, there isn't $2 million, the train that we did test run, and the insurance was not by SIC, you know. And then yesterday, while I went to get a haircut, I was watching the lotteries. And you know, yesterday, as KKD mentioned, you get from the taxes of the people, right? You get from lotteries as well. It's a very big space for us to get revenue. Like play. The National Lottery Authority has decided to yank off that contract from the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. As a kid, we used to watch that from the Brennan Hall and on GTV. Alai? They'll pick the 90 balls. Somebody in a black and white shirt over black trousers, black pair of trousers with bow tie. He will come and then he will show you the numbers. And then we used to watch it. We used to expect on GTV. It was on GTV. Suddenly a regime changes and they say, no, let's take the business from GTV. The state is not willing to do business with the state. So how does the state get money? And you find that there are other schemes, lottery schemes, that have become much more visible and much more profitable than what the state's own lottery system is. And you ask yourself, what's going on? I'm not against private sector thriving. No, I'm not. Don't get me wrong. By all means, I want private sector people to make money. But I'm saying that should not be at the expense of the public institutions that we have. Because as for private sector, you can set it up and people can come and inject capital into it, take their profit and repatriate it. The state-owned enterprises, once they get money, it stays with us, we know. So this is a challenge to all the director generals, challenge to all the managing directors, challenge to chief executive officers of state-owned enterprises. Why can't you do business with each other? Why? Why are you refusing not to do business with each other? And then very soon, we will come and say, oh, the companies are not profitable. They have been run down. So let us sell it or let's sell them. Why do we do this to ourselves? You are the manager of a state institution. You need a certain service that can be provided by another state institution. You jump them. And then go to a private person who is connected or affiliated to you or your political leaning or ideology or whatever friendship or ties you may have. And then when the month ends, you want the people working in the public sector also to be paid. What's going on? What really is going on? And you know, yesterday I spoke about recruitment. When I finished the program, people started getting back to me and telling me that, oh, they paid X amount, they were given a slot, they couldn't pay, so they didn't get the opportunity. And then I asked a question yesterday. I said, if there's a so-called backlog of people from 2021 I have showed you on this platform a tall list emanating from the Office of the Chief of Staff in 2022, giving appointment to officers of the Immigration Service and directing them to go to training. I thought that you would be recruited or you be enlisted, you go through the training, and then eventually when you pass out or you had your graduation for the layperson, then you will now be given your appointment. But the appointment with the letter was written with the list. I showed it here, 2022. So maybe the Interior Ministry needs to come again. Is there really a backlog from 2021? And this backlog from 2021, are they party people? This backlog from 2021, did they all qualify? This backlog from 2021, do they still have are they still within the age limit? This backlog from 2021, did they fail their exam? For which reason they were not considered? And if indeed we are interested in recruiting the best of the best into our security services, why don't we make this open to everybody in the country? The 1.9 million young people who would want to serve their country, the numbers within that 1.9 million bracket, who would want to serve their country, why don't we make it open for everybody to get in? But we say we are restricting it to 2021 backlog. And I asked the question, if I applied to join the Ghana Police Service in 2021, and I am, say, 32 years, or 27 years. By 2024, I will no longer be 32 or 27 years. I would have advanced in age. And what if that advancement in age means that I had gone beyond the bracket that you're looking for? Will I still be on the backlog list? And when did this whole backlog conversation start? Because when you are recruiting somebody into a security service, you have to do security clearance, you have to do medical clearance and all those things. You have to be fit for purpose. 3 years is enough time for somebody to develop a condition. 3 years is enough time for somebody to develop an ailment, a chronic one. 3 years is enough time for somebody to be compromised if they are idle. The devil finds work for an idle hand. Are we going to run security checks on them all over again? Are we going to do the medicals all over again? Are we going to do the fitness test all over again? And what will that cost the state? How much will that cost the state? I'm still waiting for the list that members of the minority were supposed to have presented when they accused the majority side of having slots for members of parliament or aspirants of various constituencies at various constituencies. I'm still waiting for Nkote to bring that list. We must hold our leaders accountable, because I say if security is compromised, we are all doomed. Forget about what you have and who you know and what you know. We are all doomed. I don't want to be doomed. I don't want to be in that situation. And so if I see the thing going in a certain direction and I don't understand the things, I will ask questions, because it is my job to ask questions. And it is your job as a citizen to also ask questions. Take me to the OSP. Nana Danko Akufo-Addo made it a big deal to have the Office of the Special Prosecutor. In 2020, Martin Alamisi Benz Kaiser Amidu, Ghana's first special prosecutor, did the corruption risk assessment on the botched Ejapa deal, which we now know that we spent $12 million doing nothing, achieving nothing. I said, in 2020, October 2020, 15th October, that's the report, the cover. Martin Benz Kaiser Amidu, special prosecutor. That was the first that Nanado ever gave us before Kisie Jabin came. And Martin Amidu left the office with disappointment, because he says that at the time he was leaving, and in this document, this report on the analysis of the risk, corruption, and anti-corruption risk assessment of the processes leading up to the request for an approval and approval of the transaction agreement and tax exemption granted by Parliament thereunder in relation to the gold royalties monetization transaction under the minerals, Martin Amidu, he wrote this report. In this report, that's where he called the president the mother serpent of all corruption. In this particular report, that's where he said that he doesn't believe that President Akufo-Addo has the will and capacity to fight corruption yesterday, today, and forever. He followed up with a 44-paragraph, the presidency followed up with a 44-paragraph letter. He wrote back and they said, we have an election to win. When we finish winning the election, we'll come to Martin Amidu. That response has never come. And that's how come that tag will never be wished away. In this report, Airbus found presence. It was about gold royalties, but Airbus found presence in this report. And this was Martin Amidu's own initiative. Now, it says the office also has warrants of arrest issued by the court of Ghana and an Interpol red alert notice outstanding for execution in the case of the Republic versus Samuel Adam Mahama and others, known as the Airbus SE Ghana bribery scandal involving the then government of Ghana, not to talk of documentary evidence of suspected forgeries and deceit of a public officer by three full-blood brothers in the corruption transaction to obtain a Ghanaian passport for Samuel Adam Mahama. This office has established the identity of elected government official one to be former President John Dramani Mahama, whose brother of the full blood is Samuel Adam Foster, also known as Samuel Adam Mahama. The only reason the former president has not been invited for interrogation, in spite of all threats from some of his followers and lawyers, is the fact that he got himself an insurance as the presidential candidate of the other largest political party in Ghana, and prudence dictated that the interrogation be held in abeyance during this election season. The former president has also not offered to make any voluntary statement to this office, despite the publication of an alleged interview containing admissions purportedly made by the former president to a Daily Graphic reporter without the full voice recording, which in the meantime remains just hearsay. This was what Martin Amidu wrote about the Airbus scandal. Now, yesterday when I was reading Dr. Lawyer Kissie Jabin's own, I came to the realization of the fact that in January, or was it in February 2024, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, in spite of the fact that John Mahama remains the flag bearer of the other political party, the same circumstances as was in 2020. And guess what? Martin Amidu's report was in October 2020. Kissie Jabin's report was in August 2024. October, November, December, let's say less than 2 months to the election. Kissie Jabin's is 4 months, August, September, October, November, almost to the election. So I want you to keep that in mind. But it is the same circumstances. Martin Amidu makes the excuse that it is because John Mahama is the flag bearer, so he wants to be prudent, he doesn't want to cause tension, and that's the only reason he has not interviewed him. Kissie Jabin replaces Martin Amidu, and Kissie Jabin moves to invite him and interviews him in February. And then he has now concluded that all that was said is actually not the case. That he cannot find evidence. And we all have known since 19 when the Martin Amidu's report came, because it had become a big campaign issue, that government official number one was John Mahama. Everybody knew that. So this whole charade, and it was a big campaign thing. All the party spokespersons were regurgitating it. They were saying it over and over again. Show me the other documents, please. The OSP's, the current document from the OSP. Now, the OSP had further action in that report. The one he read yesterday. It says a special prosecutor has directed the closure of the OSP investigation into alleged bribery of high-ranking Ghanaian officials by Airbus SE through intermediaries in respect of the sale of military transport aircraft by Airbus SE to the Republic of Ghana between 2009 and 2015. The OSP would not institute criminal proceedings against any person in respect of this investigation. The special prosecutor has also directed authorized officers of the OSP to rescind the 13th May 2020 warrant of arrest obtained from the circuit court. See the next page. It was obtained from the circuit court, and that found presence in the first Martin Amidu thing. That's red alert notice that was put out there. Right? There is also the referral and maybe a back end story. So how did the matter get before the OSP? by correspondence dated February 2020. Listen carefully. Addressed to the special prosecutor, the secretary to the president, Nana Bedietu Asante, communicated that he had been directed by the president of the republic to refer to the OSP allegations of bribery made against Ghanaian officials in an approved judgment of the Crown Court at Southwark in the United Kingdom, delivered on the 31st of January 2020 by the Right Honourable Dame Victoria Sharp, the President of the Queen's Bench Division, in the matter titled Director of the Serious Fraud Office versus Airbus SE, case number U202 000 So it was President Akufo-Addo who said, let's look into this. The Attorney General, some say, has the right to say, no, OSP, you have done your work. I also want to do my work. That's fair. But the information that you should have is that the Airbus scandal thing was referred to the Office of the Special Prosecutor by President Akufo-Addo. In other words, he went to say that investigate this matter. The OSP now tells us that, the reason for investigating is not because we found evidence that some wrong had been done, but it was because there is blood relations. So now the question that many are asking is that the president is in power. He has his relatives in power.
Johnnie's fight.
Like the spare parts deal for the ambulance thing. If tomorrow somebody also goes to say, OSP, investigate this, will it be called witch hunting? I don't know. I'm asking. 2, the 2nd February 2022 referral recounted that according to the statement of facts in the case, between 2009 and 2015, a number of Airbus employees made, so maybe we'll truncate here, but we also do know that the basis for which this had become a topical issue had been settled by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Whether Godfred Dami will pick it up like he has picked up the Jackpine forcing case again because he disagrees with the appeal court, that's another matter altogether. But what we know now as we speak, per the reports that we have, is that the Office of the Special Prosecutor says he found no evidence. Now play this Sami J video for me. Sami J and OSP. It's been trending, so I decided to play it for you. I featured in that video. Watch.
Listen, this judgment, as we have now, is a compendium of speculations and amorphous personalities and, nebulous, if you like, nebulous insinuations. That is what it is. A compendium of speculations, amorphous personalities, and nebulous innuendos and insinuations.
It doesn't wish away the fact that bribes were paid.
It doesn't offer any evidence or facts of wrongdoing on the part of any ex-government official.
Is that not why the president has instituted an investigation?
But that is where they are reckless. That is why I'm saying they are reckless. You convince investigators.
2.7.
OSP investigation found no evidence that former President Mahama was involved or played any role in the procurement and maintenance of the agency relationship between Airbus and Foster and its associates in respect of the purchase by the government of Ghana of military transport aircraft from Airbus. And it appears to the OSP that the direct communications and meetings between former President Mahama and officials of Airbus to close the deal were actuated by good intentions on the part of the former president. It also appears that Foster and his associates became involved as intermediaries in the Airbus Ghana deal after the decision by the government of Ghana in preference of the C-295 aircraft. Therefore, it seems that Foster's Airbus intermediary role at the time his brother served as the vice president of Ghana was a case of luckless coincidence that attracted the disapproval of the UK and US authorities. The OSP found no evidence that suggests that the involvement of Foster as an intermediary of Airbus and the direct communications and meetings between former President Mahama and officials of Airbus to close the deal between Airbus and the government of Ghana amounted to any corruption and corruption-related offense in respect of which the OSP has a mandate.
So that was Lawyer Kissie Jabin yesterday. This time he's not singing Akwanuma, but this time he's at least. So the question I ask ultimately is, OSP, so far, how far? Let's do an analysis of the Martinamidu era and the Kissie Jabin era. Let's put them together and ask ourselves how the Office of the Special Prosecutor has helped us in our fight against corruption. And this one is a fair analysis to make, devoid of your emotions and devoid of your political leanings. Because the Office of the Special Prosecutor, if we're able to fight corruption very well, the next layer to our development is how we're able to stamp corruption. Because corruption is all over the place. For example, watch this video. I told somebody in this house, in fact, 2 people in this house, that this doctor from Korle Bu who is out there talking about the MRI machine that I've been speaking about will get into trouble. True to my words, I have good information that yesterday he was summoned by the board and now he has been referred or has been referred to the disciplinary committee. Now, what was his crime? His crime was that he was asking questions. He was surprised. I mean, he's a professional. You made him head of a unit or a department, whatever it is, and he cannot find a machine that he has to use to work, to save lives. Save lives. Because Korle Bu is not a boutique. Korle Bu is supposed to be saving lives, preserving lives. Now, he has been there without the machines. And he has seen that referrals are being made to private entities. Who are behind those private entities? Your guess is not as good as mine. But referrals were being made consistently. And he's wondering how a tertiary hospital like Korle Bu doesn't have such basic things. I raised the same questions about 37. And then I told somebody that this man will get into trouble because you know what? The system will find a way to put you in a certain corner. If it doesn't come by law, it will come by some rule or some policy or something. You just count through all the issues. That's why, for my sources, I've always tried to keep their names out of my mouth when I come on air. Because the system will fight back. The system, it will fight back. How is it possible that a teaching hospital, the Ghana's premier hospital, does not have an MRI machine, functional, and everybody is watching? Play the video.
We are struggling. The hospital is struggling. I can tell you that in Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, we have, and I am a radiographer, okay, and I'm in the head of MRI in Korle Bu. Now, we have a CT scanner, a 640 slice CT scanner. There are 3 in Africa, and Ghana has 1. This machine in Korle Bu has been down over 5 years.
5 years?
Over 5 years.
The MRI scanner?
The CT scanner. The CT scanner we have currently in Korle Bu does not belong to Korle Bu. It's for a private individual. It's a PPP that is in Korle Bu that we are using. Korle Bu does not have its own CT scan.
And yours broke down 5 years ago?
5 years ago. So the question is, who is really interested? I mean, as for MRI, I'm sure people have been hearing how often MRI goes down and patients have to be going out. You know, we have to be transporting patients, the cost of ambulance to get patients to the various other places, the inconvenience. Our roads are so bad. So a patient is in ICU, needs a scan because our machines and all are not being catered to properly. They have to be carried all the way to a particular place and brought back. You can imagine what our patients are going through.
What did management tell you about that machine that has broken down for 5 years?
Because we don't have a voice there. It is a difficulty. I can tell you that at one meeting...
He decided to be the voice. Now he is in difficulty. Because they didn't have a voice, it became a difficulty. Now he decided to be the voice because he sees how people suffer. He has been put into a place of difficulty. If we're in any proper country, shouldn't the management and board of Korle Bu be bowing down their heads in shame and be marching out for 5 years? Such an essential machine has broken down. And even the one that we are supposed to have we are using a private person's rented machine. So if the man gets angry one day and says, I'm taking my machine away, people would die. I say, Kolibu is not a restaurant. Kolibu is not a boutique. But if you decide to talk about the system and the ills in the system, you become a subject of and a target. That's the country we live in. So shameful and shameless people we have become.